What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Q, Quinte, or Quintessential. Whatever you know me as the host of BLK Talk. Guess what? We have an exciting show for you today, so sit back, tune in, and join the conversation.
What's going on, everybody? It is Q, Quinte, or Quintessential. But today, guess what? You can call me nephew. Why? Because we have the industry's favorite uncle, Mr. Keith L. Brown, is going to be joining me today on what is the season finale of BLK Talk. So I just want to, first of all, thank everybody for tuning in. We're gonna go ahead and jump right in. I thank you so much. I know between your schedule and my schedule, we've been trying to make this happen, but we are finally doing it, and I am excited. How's everything going?
Man, listen, first of all, I want to say to you, GOODJOB, good job, good job. Yeah. So let me say this, nephew. Listen, the Q is for quintessential, the U is for unique, the E is for excellent, the N is for navigating, the T is for trailblazer, and the E is for empowered. And so when I think of your name, that's what I think about, because you are a trailblazer who's empowered. And listen, I'm so delighted, ignited, and excited to be on the season finale, right? The season finale. So listen, to all of your listeners out there, all of those people of purpose, you know, I greet you in the name of purpose, ambition, vision, and empowerment. Let me say that again. Purpose, ambition, vision, and empowerment. And that's an acronym for PAVE. So tonight, Q and I are going to help you pave the way into 2023 and beyond. Come on now.
You know what? I wasn't expecting it, but come on, I'm in. I'm digging in. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So look, for the people who may be unfamiliar with you, let us know a little bit about who you are and your history.
Absolutely. Keith L. Brown, known nationally and internationally as Mr. I'm Possible and Uncle Keith. I'm known as Mr. I'm Possible because it's not impossible. It's I'm possible. It's not impossible. It's I'm possible. And many times in my life, it was impossible because I grew up labeled special ed most of my life. So most of my life, I was labeled special ed. I was labeled at risk. And actually, I was told that I was special ed, or it was documented that I was talking too much. I talked too much. I was hyper, and I wanted to give all the answers. And ironically, those are the same traits that get me booked on an international level. They said I talk too much. Now I get paid to talk. Yes, they said I was too hyper, and now I get paid to be hyper and engaging. You understand? And so they said I was at risk, but now I am amongst men and women who take risks. And so that's what I do, and that's who I am. Keith L. Brown, Mr. I'm Possible. Uncle Keith, everybody's favorite uncle.
Yes. So I had the opportunity to meet you years ago, and I'm telling you, your personality, your motivation, your inspiration, everything has been the same and consistent since the time I met you. Now, you just talked about when you were in school, how they were telling you were this and you were that, and those very same things turned you into Mr. I'm Possible today. But take us down that road, those in-between moments. Like, how did you get to that place where, you know, you overcame whatever it was you needed to overcome in order to become the Mr. I'm Possible?
Yeah, and you know, even to get a little deeper, Q, the reality is this. I grew up with two mothers, two fathers, brothers and sisters on both sides, okay? So I come from a blended family. I've lost a brother to sickle cell anemia, but I'm still standing. I've lost a sister to the AIDS virus, but I'm still standing. My wife and I lost two babies, but we have an awesome 27-year-old son who's a graduate of my alma mater, the Savannah State University. Shout out to HBCUs. And now he works in government affairs, and he works with our company, 2020 Enterprises. And so you could always say, even growing up in a blended family, being labeled special ed, being labeled at risk, although I always had this big personality, there were many times I didn't feel I fit in, okay? Because of the labeling, because of the blended family. Once again, there were times when I did not feel that I fit in. And so I learned then to hang around people who celebrated me and not people who tolerated me. And sometimes those were not family members, Q. Sometimes those were not family members. And so what I want to say to your listeners tonight, the first thing I want to say is blood is thicker than water, but sometimes blood clots and water flows.
Ooh.
Sometimes blood clots and water flows. And that simply means there will be members of your family who are supposed to love and support you, and they might not. But then you have the water, the people who we call water, the people that God will send you to stand in the gap, to help to nurture you, to help support your vision, to bring your vision to pass. And yes, I did have a lot of supportive family members, but I've been blessed to have mentors who stood in the gap to help me to get from impossible to it's possible to I'm possible. One of those is Mr. Les Brown himself, who I think is the greatest speaker that ever lived. And he nurtured me and he guided me from impossible to it's possible to I'm possible. And so when you talk about Q, how did I overcome? I overcame by those caring family members who were blood, but then even more so by the water. Those who helped me to flow, those who were sent to me, those who stood in the gap for me. And so many times I want your listeners to understand, don't just focus on those who are supposed to support you. Start embracing those who God will send you to take you from impossible to it's possible to I'm possible. I battled self-esteem issues, man. I battled self-esteem issues because I was sometimes an outcast. So I even battled self-esteem issues. But here was the key, Q. The key was I always placed myself in positions, watch this, where I was able to focus on my strengths and not my weaknesses. Focus on my strengths and not the things that I needed to improve upon. Let me break it down to your listeners. Many of your listeners out there are focused on their weaknesses. They're focused on their setbacks. They're focused on their deficiencies. So tonight, I want to say today, listen very carefully. Today, don't focus on your deficiencies. Focus on your destiny. Yes, work on your deficiencies. Yes, work in those areas you need to improve, but you need to focus on your strengths because that will keep you built. You need to focus on your strengths because that will keep you passionate and that will keep you driven. So Q, that's how I was able to go from impossible to it's possible to I'm possible. Man, I've been everything from the SGA president in college to being on the student advisory council to the board of regents to being in theater to being in the fine arts. So what are you saying tonight, Uncle Keith? What I'm saying tonight is I always place myself in a position where I can not just survive, but I could thrive. And that has been very essential in taking me on this journey from impossible to it's possible to I'm possible.
Ooh, I love it. I feel like as you were speaking about yourself, and getting to that I'm possible, it's possible stage, honestly, I felt like you were digging all up in me, getting me to that place because, I actually dealt with self-esteem issues and to an extent still kind of dealing with it, but I'm kind of, getting to that place where, I'm feeling who I'm supposed to be.
Yes.
So hopefully those of you who are out there listening right now, you felt that too, and you can get to a place where you understand and know who you are, and anything you want in this world is possible.
Yes.
But what I want to know, how does mental health play a role in where you are today? Because and I'll do a little rewind as to why I'm asking that. As we know, within our community, um, dealing with mental health issues at one point was something that we didn't talk about. If you felt some kind of way, go take a nap. Let me give you a little Robitussin, a little ginger ale, or something
Yes.
like that. You don't let household business. Don't tell anybody what's going on in the house. You got to keep everything to yourself, and that set up a lot of issues within a lot of people, and it passed down through a lot of generations. And this day and age, we're at a place now where we're able to break those generational curses.
Yes.
Um, and we're still, we got a lot of work to do, but we're doing better than we've done before. So as we're working individually, collectively to get to a place where we understand what is possible, where we understand that I'm possible, where we understand that it's possible, how does a healthy mental state play a role in that?
It's everything. Let me say that. Let me first start off by saying mental health matters and Black mental health matters. The reason I say Black mental health matters is, as a man of faith, I can honestly say that while the Black church has been the foundation of everything positive in the Black community, by the same token, it also fell short in the area of mental health, because the Black church put out messages in our communities, in our families, like, just pray about it. Just pray about it and everything will go away. It was almost as if you pray about it and then you're going to get some fairy dust sprinkled on you and everything was going to be all right. And so then you got those messages on Sunday morning in church, and you came to the church house broke and you left broken. Let me say that again. Came broke and you left broken. You were able to scream and holler, and they put that religious Robitussin inside of you, that religious Castoria, that religious aloe vera, all of those home remedies, right? And you were able to fall out and scream and shout, and then you left the church and you got home and you looked in the mirror and you realized you were still hurting. So what I would say is that and it was so deep, Q, because it was the indoctrination that we got, that prayer changes things. And it does. Prayer changes things. But when you get off your knees, you have to get up and go do some work. And a part of the work we decide to do in my family, with my wife, with my son, is we decide to have a family therapist that we still have. So yeah, we pray about it. We're a family of faith. But then God equipped our therapist to give us some tangible tools, right? To help our mental state, to help our mind frame, to help our emotional state. So I'm going to tell your leading listeners out there today, get a therapist, get a counselor, get a social worker, get some help, because guess what? Your peace of mind is the foundation for everything you do. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how much, how many materialistic items you have, because Q, let me break it down. Those who are battling mental health, I know people in our industry, right? I know so many people who are publicly balling, but they privately falling. Okay? They are publicly balling, but they privately falling. So they're coming to the premiere nights, right? And they're riding up. Right, they're riding up in the six-figure cars, okay, and they have on 5-figure outfits, but on the inside they're broke and they're broken, and a lot of times that's because they cannot even be transparent enough to say, I need help. I need to get some help. And so let me say this again: you don't need a therapist. You deserve a therapist, okay? You deserve a therapist, somebody that can help you balance. So Q, mental health is at the foundation of everything we do. Now, let me break it down a little further. For Black men like us, we've been told that real men don't cry. We weren't told that in the white community. We were told that in the Black community. We weren't told that in the white community or the Asian community. We were told that in our own communities. Real men don't cry. But I'm going to tell you tonight, nephew, real men do cry, okay? And I'm encouraging my young warriors like yourself and those younger than you, cry every day. You can cry. And when they tell you that you cannot cry and real men don't cry, they're trying to dehumanize you. So now they're trying to turn Q, a human being, into an animal. No, man, you got to cry because you're human. You got to purge. You got to let it out. I hold my son and he holds me. You're my nephew. I will hold you and let you cry. We have to stop. We have to stop putting a box around young Black males and Black men, telling them they can't cry. And you know what? And let me say this too, to our Black mothers out there, our beautiful Black mothers, our beautiful single mothers. Your 8-year-old son is not the man of the house.
Not at all.
Your 8-year-old son cannot be the man of the house. You're setting him up. You're setting him up for some mental health issues, okay? All right? You're setting him up for some mental health issues. So listen, he's not the man of the house. Let him be a little boy. Let him grow Let him grow. Let him grow. Let him grow. I just had to throw that out there as it relates to our black boys, young black males, and black men. Because guess what, Q? Black men and black males are the only species on the planet that's been told we cannot feel, we cannot cry, we cannot show our emotions. And that now has us in a place of anger and resentment. And that's why the prisons are filled with black men. And guess what? That's why the suicide rate is rising amongst black men. I've lost so many nephews out there, right, to suicide. And all they needed was somebody to give them a hug. They're not thugs. They just need a hug. So let me say this. Your mental health matters. So self-care matters. But even deeper than that is your self-I care. And what is self-I care, Mr. Impossible? Self-I care is when Q wakes up every morning and Q looks in the mirror and says, I deserve to take care of myself. I am valuable. I am worth it. Because many times we will engage in self-care and then feel guilty for doing it. No, self-I care is when you have conversations with yourself. I talk to myself and myself answers me. That's normal. They used to say that was crazy, but now it's not crazy, nephew. It's normal. So at the end of the day, you can be successful. Watch this. You can be successful and not take care of your mental health, because we see people do it, right? We see people who are successful, but they're not taking care of their mental health. But let me say this, you can't be significant.
Ooh.
You can be successful. You can have the cars, the jewelry, the clothes, the house. You can have all the success, but you will never be significant until you take care of your self-care. So what's the difference? Success typically centers around materialism. Significance centers around you building wealth, but showing others how to do the same and having your peace of mind all at the same time.
Wow. Ooh. Come on now, you're hitting us today now. We appreciate that. Now, what I want to know, now you made the comment about the black mothers and, you know, your 8-year-old son is not the man of the house.
That's right.
But I want to take that a little deeper.
Go ahead.
It takes a village to raise a child. That was once a saying that was very true within our community. But as the world started to shift, as things started to change in our world, that became a phrase of the past. It didn't hold the same weight that it did. Even, you know, Miss Jenkins up the street, you know, she'll call your mother, hey, your child is over here, you know, but they're good. But that's not happening anymore. And not only is the neighborhood not the same, the family dynamics are not the same. Like not me in general, but, you know, I can't even tell my niece, you know, no, because now her mother's telling me, you know, like the family's not how the family used to be. Where do you think that breakdown came from? And how do you think we as a community can start to get that back? Because Thanksgiving is coming up. So we need the family back together now.
Yeah, we definitely need the family back together. I honestly think that while integration has been good in so many ways, I believe there was a breakdown in the family because I'm 53 years old, but I'm still lit. Okay, I'm still lit, man. You understand? I'm still relevant amongst young people, amongst Generation X, amongst millennials, as you know, very relevant, right? And I know that when I was growing up, even in the 70s, like you said, the village was there. Your neighbors, your family members. When you went, I grew up in Jamaica, Queens, New York. So every summer I would be in Savannah, Georgia, with my aunt, uncle, and grandparents, and everybody can discipline you. All right. And there was not a problem when everybody disciplines you, And I often say this, the same system that tells us not to discipline our children is the same one that's building more prisons than schools to discipline them. So we got to be very careful of that. So here's the breakdown. The breakdown, I believe, came when we got very comfortable. I think when we got very comfortable and we thought we arrived as a community, then guess what happened? We stopped having dinner together. We stopped having conversations together. And then technology came. And so when technology came and you got your cell phone, now I don't have to talk to my nephew Q. I can just text him. And there's a difference in a text message that says, I love you versus you hearing my voice and feeling it in your spirit saying, hey, Q, I love you. Hey, Q, man, you're doing a great job. Hey, Q, everything is awesome. Hey, Q, you're going to make it. Hey, Q, you're going to overcome. When you hear that, the voice reverberates. There's a rhythm to the voice that goes right to your ear, to your spirit, that can't happen in a text message. And so I just believe that everybody then got so busy. Everybody got so busy. You know, I know we have to work, don't get me wrong, but there has to be a time where there's balance. And you know what we did? We took our eyes off our children, man. We took our eyes off of our children and young people. I remember that I cursed a lot. Okay. But I immediately, when I was walking down the street, all right, on 147th Avenue, Miss Brown lived on the corner. I didn't curse. Miss Alice was right next door. I didn't curse. Miss Hooper lived across the street. We didn't curse. We didn't even curse in front of our parents. We didn't make that mistake. But now you have this generation where you have young people cursing in front of their parents. You have young people calling their parents by their first name. You got parents wanting to be friends with their children. And you know what? I got to keep it real. I got to keep it real. And here's the other thing. Here was the other thing that's a deep dynamic to me was adults, right, who want to be children. Adults who want to be teenagers, okay? All right, I wanted to relate to my son's friends, but I never wanted to be one of my son's friends. I say that. I wanted to relate to them. And so when you say, where was the breakdown? The breakdown is that we got too comfortable and we started saying things like this. Well, I'm not going to raise my child like my parents raised me. But look, but guess what? If you turned out all right, then why wouldn't you want to instill some values? But right there, let me say with that word values. Now we instill more valuables than values into our children. We instill more valuables than values. And so now I remember, man, if I went to the school and cursed the teacher out, my mother wasn't about to come up to the school and curse the teacher out. Okay. You know what was going to happen when I got home, right?
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah. But today you have parents going up to the schools, cursing the teachers out, cursing, you know, and even if my mother did not agree, and my mother was an awesome school teacher, by the way, so I wasn't getting away with nothing, right? But even if my mother didn't agree, she would never say that in front of me. We have not, and you know, when you were growing up at family gatherings, Q, y'all sat at the children's table.
Oh yeah.
Y'all sat at the young people's table. You didn't sit at the adult table, okay?
Nah,
and when you opened your mouth, they said, stay out of grown folks' business.
Yep.
Okay, but today we put our children in our business. Okay, today you got fathers for not getting along with their spouses, and they're talking to their children about the marital issues. Man, look, we got to let our children be children. We got to let our young people be young people, but we got to give them this. We got to give them love, discipline, structure, boundaries. We got to get back to that. We got to get back to that. So there is a breakdown in the Black family. There is a serious breakdown, but I do have a major solution. And that major solution starts with a program that we run in my organization called Fathers Not Father. So we must be FATHERS, not FARTHER. Let me say that.
Ooh, come on now.
Somebody might have missed that. Come on now. We must be FATHERS, not FARTHER. That means what, Uncle Keith? What does that mean, Mr. Impossible? When our fathers stand up, when Black men stand up in the communities will change. Do you not know? And I've seen you. When a Black man steps on the scene, the atmosphere changes. When I walk into a school and they're acting up, the atmosphere changes. And so I'm calling on more men to step up in the community, right? And to help police the community and to help bring that love and that nurturing back to the community. So that's important to me. So I think if we do that, if we get back to those traditions that work, and what traditions are you talking about? Respect, you know, respect. That's what we got to get back to, respect. And so Q, I'm doing that in the communities, man, every day. So we got to get back to that. The village has to come back. And but you did make a good point when you said you might say something to your niece and your sister might go off on you. I may say something, and here's the thing, you know, in the Black family, all of my cousins, right? My cousins who are younger, you know what they call me, right? They call me Uncle Keith. They don't call me Keith. They call me Uncle Keith. Yeah, they're my cousins,
Exactly.
but it's a respect factor. I feel we got to get back to that respect. That respect. And because everybody has to know their place. And when you don't know your place, you get out of your place. We got to stop glorifying 3 and 4 and 5-year-old children on TikTok cursing, and we think that's cute. We think that's cute. So they're on TikTok cursing at 3, 4, and 5 years old, right? We laughing and we think it's cute. But when they 13, 14, and 15, now they whipping their parents behind. And now the parents are saying, I don't know what to do with them. You should have thought about that when they were 3, 4, and 5, going viral on TikTok. Now they're out of order. We got to bring order back.
Now hold on. Not only are they saying I don't know what to do with them, but they're saying I don't know how this happened. I don't know how they got there.
Yes.
I mean, it's on TikTok. I mean,
Yes.
the
Yes.
video evidence is right there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, man. So I know I said a mouthful. I know I said a lot, but we have to bring order and structure back to the Black family.
Now, with all of that, I absolutely agree. The values, the respect factor, those are some of the main things that I feel that my generation was one of the last generations that got to be friends with their kids. There are a lot of people who are allowing their children to sit at the adults' table in adults' business, which I don't, necessarily agree with. But there is one thing that I feel this generation has that ours necessarily did not, and that's the ability to be able to communicate. Because if you had if you had like you said, we Black men have not been able to show emotions or things like that, but kids were supposed to stay in a child's place. So hey mom, if I don't feel good and this is not making me feel good and I don't feel important, or I don't feel seen, or I don't feel heard, these are things that are also building up anger and frustration inside of these kids. So when it comes to communication, not being a part of the adults' conversation, but being able to communicate, how important is that as we progress in this new day and age?
Let me say this, man, and I'm glad you said that, because that allows me to go a little deeper. My son is 27 years old. Every 3 months since he was a child, I would ask him, what type of father have I been in the last 3 months? Sometimes I like the answer, sometimes I didn't. I communicated with my son. I communicate with my nieces and nephews. I think it's very important for parents to communicate with their children and give their children a safe space where their children can express what they are feeling. And so there's a difference between being in grown folks' conversation at the dinner table versus having those intimate moments with your child where your child can communicate. Let me say this. Many times I've apologized to my son when I was wrong. Nobody ever apologized to me. They just did it, and that's the way it was supposed to be done.
Yep.
And it was wrong. And it was wrong. So I had to be the interruption in the bloodline, okay? Because my generation dropped the ball as well. So I made it a point to be the interruption in the bloodline and say, what? Son, I apologize. Okay. And even when I was angry, I would come back and say, I apologize. I should not have addressed you that way. I should not have said it that way. And that makes him feel so much better. That makes, because at the end of the day, he's a human being. And so, yes, I'm his dad, but as his dad, I should have the wisdom enough and the love enough to come back and apologize to my son when I'm wrong. And so I say this to parents: communicate with your children, but parents, listen very carefully. Don't just be interesting, be interested.
Yeah.
Okay. Because a lot of times as parents, man, we can be interesting. We talk, but we don't want to listen. And so I had to learn that, Q. My therapist taught me, my therapist taught me that as well, because I'm a speaker, so I like to talk, right? Yeah. But I had to learn to listen to my son. And our relationship, man, it is so deep. It is so much better because I gave him a safe space where he could say, Dad, I don't like the way what you said made me feel.
Yeah.
And so parents, I would say this: if you don't want to lose your children, give them a safe space where they can talk to you and express themselves. Because if they don't express themselves to you, they're going to express themselves to someone, and someone else might not necessarily have their best interest in mind. And so I will say that. And the other thing is this, Q, just because I'm old enough to be your father, Q, doesn't mean that I need to treat you less than I am, or you don't, or you don't have an opinion, or your opinion doesn't matter. Your opinion doesn't count. No, your opinion does matter. Your opinion does count. And so, yeah, I think that's very important for adults to understand that as well. But you know, a lot of times in the Black family, that comes from a place where Black men and women felt so minimized in society. Right? Listen to me when I say this now. They felt so minimized and ostracized in society. They would go to work and they would be beat down, right? But then they would come home and be dictators. And then you come home and be abusive to your children, yet you forgot about the abuse you experienced in society, right? Or we get inside the church and we never had a title outside the church. So now we go to church and we get a title. And now, guess what? Now we take on the slave master mentality, and we put that on our own brothers and sisters. And so I think it's sad. I think it's sad, but guess what? Thank God for your generation that's turning things around. Thank God for your generation. Yeah.
See, but thank God for your generation as well that's open enough to accept and be a part of the change, to be a part of the growth. Because I mean, without you guys, we can't do it. You know, so we're all working together to make it a thing. Now, speaking of working together to make it a thing, now you have organizations and publications and all of this stuff that's making people better. So tell us about that. We got the books, we got the tours, we got the organizations, we got. Tell us about all of that.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, I'm a servant leader, and I operate from an original quote called "Have the nerve to serve." Okay, have the nerve to serve, and let me tell you why I say have the nerve to serve. Because as you know, being the servant leader that you are, you understand that many of those we serve don't appreciate our service.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Many of those, let me say that again to your listeners, many of those you serve will not appreciate your servant leadership. And that's why you have to have the nerve to serve. It takes nerve to serve for people who are not thankful. It takes the nerve to serve for people who will beat you down for attempting to help them and making their lives better. So let me just start off there, man. One of the projects I'm really proud of is the book called Talk is Expensive. Okay. And that is my latest book. Talk is Expensive. Okay. And in that, talk is, you know, we've heard talk is cheap all of our lives. Talk is cheap. No, talk is not cheap. Talk is expensive. Because on January the 6th, we know on January the 6th, there was a man whose name I won't call, okay? But he went to a podium and he told hundreds, if not thousands of individuals to go to the Capitol and riot and fight like hell. It was his talk. It was expensive because it caused a loss of life on that day, loss of lives, okay? Loss of property, loss of order. So talk is not cheap. Talk is expensive. Q, you also know when you communicate effectively, all right, that increases your impact, your influence, and your income. Okay.
Come on now.
So talk is not cheap. Talk is expensive. Q, they often said this. They also said this. Actions speak louder than words. Yes, actions speak louder than words, but it's the words that move people to action. Actions speak louder than words, but it's the words that move people to action. So the book, Talk is Expensive, Communicating Effectively to Expand Your Impact, Influence, and Income, it talks about that family dynamic, about the power of words, about how we should address each other. If you decide to be an entrepreneur, it talks about that. It talks about the word opposition, because we're going to face opposition, but inside the word opposition is the word position. Okay, is the word position. It's inside of opposition. And so how will you position yourself when the opposition comes? What will be your position as it relates to educational and social justice? Okay, abortion and the rights of women. Okay, the black man stance in terms of love, black people loving each other, black women loving each other. I often tell black women this. A lot of times I hear, sister, we sisters. Sometimes I feel, you know, sister ain't nothing but a word. Sister say nothing but a word, because you're a black woman until she gets the guy you wanted to date. You right? Okay, until she gets the position you wanted. So I'm even calling on black women to love each other more. Black men love each other more. So that book, Talk is Expensive, it really talks about the power of communicating effectively. Okay, and Q, let me say this: it's not what you say, it's not even how you say it, it's how they interpret what you say. It's not what you say, it's not even how you say it, it's how they interpret what you said. Because Q, I could look at you right now, watch this. If we said it's not what you say, it's how you say it, I could say, Q, you are nothing. You're a disaster. You're ugly. Q, didn't that sound pretty polite when I was saying that? I was very polite. So if we go by it's not what you say, it's how you say it, right? You can be the nicest thing you can say it using the nicest tone and still insult somebody. So it's not what you say, it's not how you say it, it's how they interpret what you said.
Because the funny thing is, chances are, if I go back and I tell that very same thing that you said to me to somebody else, I'm not going to say it how you said it. I'm going to say, yeah, he told me I was nasty. I was nothing. It was going to come out, because that's the way I interpreted it. Absolutely. So you are absolutely correct.
Yes. So Q, at the Impossible Institute, where I coach and train speakers, entrepreneurs, and those who want to communicate effectively, man, we talk about that. We talk about talk being expensive. Okay. We talk about how to overcome opposition, how to be resilient. You want that speaking career? We show you how to craft that speaking career from start to finish. You want to coach? We show you how to do that from start to finish. But here's the reality. People will ask me this, like they ask you about your programs. Well, how much does it cost? You know what I tell them? It's free. They get excited. I say, there is no cost, but there is an investment.
Ooh, come on now.
There is no cost, but there is an investment to get in my coaching program, because cost implies you don't get a return. But when you invest, there is a return. But so many times people are not willing to invest in themselves. Okay. So they want a handout. All right. And so many people are calling, ooh, coach, Mr. Impossible, can I pick your brain? So you can't pick my brain anymore. Because if I keep allowing you to pick my brain, I'm going to lose brain cells. And if I lose brain cells, then I'm not going to be beneficial for those who are willing to invest. So I'm going to say to you and everybody else out there, stop allowing people to pick your brain. Okay. There's value to what you bring to the table. So there's an investment. So we're very proud of our coaching program. We're very proud of our books. We're very proud of our youth programs. We're very proud of our Fathers Not Father program. And we're very proud of our tours, especially our HBCU tours. So we got a lot going on, Q. But guess what? We got a lot going on. But guess what? Let's talk about, we got the Lunch and Learn series that you have. You're the editor of Q Gentlemen, right? You got the Hunger Strikes. You got Live with my girl, tremendous T. Marie. But let me say this. With the list of things that you have, being the brand maestro that you are, everything that you're doing, it's not just a list. Everything you're doing is productive. Everything I'm doing is productive. So you got people that got lists of things, but nothing is happening. So my thing is this: whatever you create, you better relate.
Okay.
Let me say that again. Whatever you create, you better relate. And that simply means you can have the motivation, Q, you can have the elevation, you can have the education, but if there's no implementation, you have nothing. Implementation. That's what I do as a coach and trainer. I show individuals how to not only have the motivation, the elevation, the education, and for my good people, because I'm a spiritual man, you know, the revelation, because everybody got revelation. Oh, you know what, Q, God, hey, Mr. Impossible, God told me. So you got that revelation, but if you don't have no implementation, what God told you is not going to matter. So I'm saying this: you got to implement those ideas. You got to start practicing goal setting and stop practicing goal sitting.
Yeah. Now, look, for the people out there who have been filled with these revelations, God told me to do this. God told me to do this. The Spirit told me this. The Spirit told me that.
That's
but they're questioning how they make that first step. Because sometimes we know having many things on the list, actually pulling the trigger and taking the first step to make those things happen are not always easy. So
Absolutely.
from your experience and your conversations, how do you tell people to, take that first step to get to that next level?
I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you asked. I had a client recently, a new client. He said, Coach, I want to speak, but I don't have an audience. I said, you have 1,300 followers on social media.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to do every Monday. I need you to do a motivational or momentum or mobilizing Monday where you do a 45 to 60-second pre-recorded video that you post every Monday to engage your followers. And then on Transformational Tuesday, I need you to put up a quote, all right, that they can comment under. And then on Wisdom Filled Wednesdays, I need you to give them one of your tangible tips that's going to help them. He said, so every day I said, yes, it's called a social media script. Q, I'm going to give them, your listeners, this for free tonight. You need to have a social media script. Those of you who have a business, those of you who have ideas, I don't care if you have 3 followers or 3,000, you have an audience. And if you're not engaging them, you're going to lose them. And so my client started doing exactly what I said. And now he's gotten a couple of hits where he's now going into schools, right? And he's saying, well, Coach, they don't want to pay. I said, listen, go do it for free. And if you really believe in your gift and you do it for free and you do it well, they'll pay you for it. See, that's the thing. You just starting out. You're not going to make 10 to 20,000 like a speech like your coach does. That's not going to happen. You're just starting out. Okay. You're not going to be Q Jackson right when you go into your YouTube channel. No. Q Jackson paid his dues. There was a process. So what I'm saying to you all, don't get caught up into the social media hype of everything happening overnight. It's going to take time. You're going to have to invest in yourself. But if you don't know what to do and where to go, engage that audience that you have. You have an audience right there on social media that you're ignoring, all right, that you're ignoring. So engage there. And so I would say to anybody, listen, I know the lady who bakes cakes, right? And she said, I really want to open this business. I said, well, then you need to start selling your cakes to your family because you've been giving them away for years. Ooh. This is somebody who I know dearly. This is someone who I love, who I'm talking about, Q. I said, you've been bringing cakes to the family reunion for years, and we've been eating the cakes. Now, start selling $40. Start selling those same cakes for $40 and see how much they love your cake. Because when it's free, everybody want to eat it. But if they really love you, right, they will invest in you. So guess what she's doing? Now she's selling those red velvet cakes, and she's doing quite well. And so what I'm saying to all of your listeners, all of you out there have a gift, right? Test that gift with those who will support you in your family. Test that gift with those who will support you at work, right? And your circle, right? Test it in what we call the hot market. That's what you do. My first book that I wrote, Q, in 2002, my first 100 copies were family members, fraternity brothers, and friends. My first 100 copies. So my first my first $2,000 came from those in my hot market. Now there were some people who were in my hot market, they didn't support me. I didn't focus on them. I focused on those who supported me. So that's what we do, Q. We give you those basic, innovative steps that will take your business from impossible to it's possible to I'm possible. You know, Les Brown once said, there's not a shortage of money, there's a shortage of ideas. A lot of people say, well, Mr. Impossible, I can't afford your coaching program. But I just saw you on Instagram turning up, talking about last night, and you just blew $1,000 on the weekend, and that could have been invested in your coaching program, where I could have showed you how to make $5,000 the very next month. So, yeah.
We gotta get better, and I'm telling you, like, there's no better way to, bring the conversation to a close than with everything that you just said. So let me tell you, this conversation was what?
GOODJOB. Good job. Yes. Good job. Yeah.
I'm telling you, like, I can't wait to play this back over and over and take the clips from here and take it from there, because not only was this a great conversation to end of the first season of a show that I never thought I would do. But I took
Yes,
that first step.
sir.
I
Yes,
made it
sir.
happen. And I can't think of a better person to close the season out with. So I am thankful for you. I am humbly and eternally grateful. And of course, this is not the last time we'll have you on the platform. I appreciate everything that you have been to me since I have met you. You know, the
Yes.
messages here, everything. Like, I appreciate it, because when you're out here doing what you're doing, and you go through those moments where you may question yourself, it's good to have people that just throw something in you when you don't even realize at that moment that you need it. So thank you from me and my generation, and I'm gonna keep making you proud, and keep doing the thing. So I want you to let the people know where they can get the books, where they can invest in the coaching, because there is no cost, but there is an investment.
Absolutely.
Where can people get in touch with you?
Absolutely. First of all, let me shout out the IPY agency, man, my publicist, right?
Shout out to Adrian.
Awesome. Adrian Allen, my awesome publicist. And I am on all social media platforms. I'm on Twitter and Facebook at Keith L. Brown 1911, and on Facebook at Keith L. Brown, Mr. I Am Possible. I'm on Instagram at Keith L. Brown _, Keith L. Brown _, YouTube, Keith L. Brown Night. Yes, yeah, there it is. You are, see?
Yeah, right there.
Readers are leaders, right? And then my website is keithlbrown.com, and we're kicking off a new coaching program in 2023, early 2023, where we're only accepting those who are willing to invest in their impact, their influence, and their income. Let me say that again. Those who are willing to invest in their impact, their influence, and their income. Yes, the Impossible Institute, we are open for each and every one of you. And I want to say to my beautiful Black people out there and all of your listeners, because you have a diverse listening base, but especially to my beautiful Black women, my sisters out there, you are quintessential queens. There's that word, quintessential. You are quintessential queens. To my Black men, listen, I love you, and let us not be afraid to tell each other that we love each other. And I want to say this to all of you before we go real fast. Look in the mirror right now. When this is over, when this broadcast is over, look in the mirror and say the following. Say your name and then say, I can't wait for you to meet the person you're about to become. Again, I can't wait for you to meet the person you're about to become, because that means you're ever growing, you're ever evolving, you're changing, and you're getting better. And guess what? Your memory is a replay of your past, but your imagination is a pre-play of your future. So whatever it is, forgive yourself. Stop living in the past. Forgive yourself, love yourself. And guess what? I love myself. You say these 4 affirmations every day.
Come on now.
I love myself.
I love myself.
I believe in myself.
I believe in myself.
I'm proud of myself.
I'm proud of myself.
And I'm a genius.
All right. Yes. I'm going to look for a mirror now.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate
I love you,
so
nephew.
much.
I love you.
I love you all. I appreciate that. And I appreciate and I love each and every one of you guys that are tuned in to the conversation, that have tuned in to the past 16 conversations. Season 2, ready for some amazing things. So just make sure you guys tune in. Tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. We need to run these subscribers up. Go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And we're going to keep bringing you amazing people. But until then, we'll see you later. Have an amazing 2022.